The 1970s in Britain were a decade of change, but also of strong traditions that shaped everyday life. From Sunday roasts and pub nights to seaside holidays and school rituals, these customs defined a generation. In this video, we're looking back at 15 British traditions from the 70s that remain unforgettable. Tell us which ones you remember most in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgic journeys. In 1970s, Britain, the Sunday roast was more than food. It was a tradition that brought families together every week. Roast beef, lamb, or chicken sat at the center of the table, surrounded by roast potatoes, Yorkshire puddings, gravy, and seasonal vegetables. The smell filled the house from late morning, a signal that the week was winding down in the most comforting way. Children remember the clatter of plates, the steam rising from the gravy boat, and the ritual of everyone taking their seat before carving began. For many families, it was the one meal of the week where everyone sat together without distractions, sharing stories of school, work, and life. In the 1970s, the Sunday roast wasn't just about eating, it was about belonging, routine, and the simple joy of tradition. For many families in 1970s, Britain Friday evening meant one thing: a trip to the local chippy. Cod or haddock, fried to golden perfection, laid on a bed of thick-cut chips, all wrapped in yesterday's newspaper. Vinegar soaked the paper, salt clung to your fingers, and the first hot bite felt like the perfect end to the week. Kids remember queuing outside with a few coins in hand, the smell of frying oil drifting down the street, and the thrill of carrying the warm, greasy bundle home. Some families ate straight from the paper, perched on sofas or garden walls, while others made it a sit-down affair with mushy peas and pickled onions. In the 1970s, fish and chips weren't just dinner, they were ritual, comfort, and the taste of Britain's working-class heart. In the 1970s, the local pub was more than a place to drink. It was the heart of the community. Men and women gathered after work for a pint of bitter or lager, the air thick with cigarette smoke and laughter. Games of darts and dominoes filled the corners, while the jukebox played the latest hits. For many, the pub was where friendships were forged, news was shared, and weekends truly began. Children were often part of it too, sipping lemonade and crunching crisps while their parents chatted. The sticky carpets, clinking glasses, and hum of conversation became familiar backdrops to family life. In the 1970s, pub culture wasn't just about alcohol. It was about belonging, a shared ritual that anchored communities across Britain. In the 1970s, Britain, tea time was still a daily tradition, a pause in the afternoon that felt almost sacred. Around 4 o'clock, kettles whistled in kitchens up and down the country, teapots were filled, and cups were poured with strong black tea, usually softened with milk and sweetened with sugar. Plates of biscuits, slices of Battenberg, or buttered toast often accompanied the ritual, turning a simple drink into a moment of comfort. Families remember the clink of spoons in cups, the smell of freshly brewed tea, and the warmth of gathering at the table before the evening rush. For children, it meant a pause between school and homework, a chance to nibble and chat. In the 1970s, tea time wasn't about caffeine. It was about slowing down, reconnecting, and holding on to a tradition that made every day feel a little more homely. In 1970s, Britain, the classic seaside holiday, was still a summer highlight for countless families. Resorts like Blackpool, Brighton, and Skegness buzzed with holidaymakers, while holiday camps such as Butlins offered full weeks of entertainment. Striped deck chairs, donkey rides on the sand, sticks of rock, and arcades filled with flashing lights all became part of the tradition. For many children, it was their first taste of freedom. Running along the promenade with an ice cream in hand, families remember the thrill of penny slot machines, the smell of salt and vinegar on chips by the pier, and the inevitable rain that sent everyone into amusement halls. Even with the rise of package holidays abroad, the British seaside held its magic in the 1970s, a mix of simple pleasures, family rituals, and the unmistakable charm of a week by the sea. In 1970s Britain, Saturday morning shopping was a ritual that brought whole families into town centres. High streets were bustling with grocers, butchers, bakers, and market stalls, long before supermarkets and malls took over. Kids tagged along as parents carried string bags or wicker baskets filled with weekly essentials, and shopkeepers often knew customers by name. Children remember the smell of fresh bread from the bakery, the chatter of stall holders calling out deals, and the thrill of being given a coin to spend on sweets or comics. It wasn't just about buying food, it was a social outing, a chance to meet neighbors, catch up on gossip, and feel part of the community. In the 1970s, Saturday shopping wasn't rushed convenience. It was a tradition, a rhythm of life that set the weekend in motion. In the 1970s, Britain, Saturday afternoons meant football. Crowds poured into local grounds, filling the concrete terraces with scarves, rattles, and a roar that carried for miles. There were no all-seater stadiums then. Fans stood shoulder to shoulder, singing chants that echoed through the decades. For many, the weekly pilgrimage to see their club play was as important as any ritual at home. Children remember being hoisted onto their dad's shoulders to see the pitch, the smell of pies and bovril drifting through the stands, and the thrill of hearing the crowd erupt when a goal went in. It wasn't polished or corporate, it was raw, noisy, and deeply rooted in community pride. In the 1970s, Saturday football wasn't just a sport, it was tradition, passion, and identity rolled into 90 minutes. Every 5th of November in the 1970s, Britain Bonfire Night lit up towns and villages with crackling fires and colourful fireworks. Children spent days building guys from old clothes stuffed with newspaper, proudly wheeling them around in prams or carts and asking, "Penny for the guy." The evening itself meant gathering with neighbours, tossing the effigy onto the flames, and watching sparklers fizz in the cold autumn air. People remember the smoky smell of bonfires, the taste of toffee apples, and the thrill of fireworks exploding overhead, sometimes a little too close for comfort. It was noisy, messy, and completely unforgettable, a tradition rooted in history, but lived as pure childhood excitement. In the 1970s, Bonfire Night wasn't about health and safety. It was about community, firelight, and the magic of a November sky. In the 1970s, Britain Christmas pantomime was a highlight of the festive season. Families packed into theatres to see over-the-top performances of classics like Aladdin, Cinderella, or Jack and the Beanstalk. With slapstick humour, outrageous costumes, and plenty of audience participation, Panto brought generations together in a uniquely British mix of comedy and tradition. Children remember shouting, "He's behind you," at the top of their lungs, booing the villain, and laughing as dads chuckled at jokes that went straight over their heads. Stars of TV often took leading roles, adding extra glamour to the stage. In the 1970s, the Christmas panto wasn't just a show, it was a seasonal ritual, part of the magic that made the holidays unforgettable. In the 1970s, Britain, school uniforms were a tradition that shaped daily life for millions of children. Blazers, ties, grey trousers, and pleated skirts created a sense of order and belonging, marking pupils as part of their school community. Teachers and parents saw uniforms as a source of discipline and pride, a way to put everyone on equal footing. Children, of course, had their own views. Many remember itchy jumpers, scuffed shoes polished on Sunday nights, and the constant temptation to bend the rules, rolling up skirts, loosening ties, or sneaking in colorful socks. Uniforms were both a symbol of identity and a stage for small rebellions. In the 1970s, they weren't just clothes. They were part of growing up, teaching conformity, creativity, and the fine art of testing boundaries. In 1970s, Britain, summer fetes and village fairs were the highlight of the community calendar. School fields and village greens transformed into colorful hubs of stalls, games, and raffles. There were tombolas with mystery prizes, cakes baked for competitions, and the ever-popular coconut shy, where kids hurled wooden balls in the hope of knocking one down. Children remember the smell of candy floss and freshly cut grass, the excitement of winning a goldfish in a plastic bag, and the buzz of neighbors all gathering together. These events weren't just about fun. They raised money for schools, churches, and local causes, reinforcing the sense of community spirit. In the 1970s, a summer fete wasn't just entertainment, it was tradition, bringing villages and towns to life under the British sun. In 1970s, Britain Wimbledon wasn't just a sporting event, it was a summer tradition. For 2 weeks every year, families gathered around televisions to watch tennis legends battle it out on the grass courts. Strawberries and cream became the snack of the season, and even those who didn't normally follow tennis felt the pull of Wimbledon's charm. Children remember the hush as players prepared to serve, the polite ripple of applause after rallies, and the excitement of seeing British hopes rise and fall. For many, it was also an excuse to spend warm afternoons outside, with radios tuned to live commentary. In the 1970s, Wimbledon Fortnight was more than sport. It was ritual, flavor, and a shared national moment that made July feel special. In 1970s, Britain Remembrance Sunday was observed with solemn respect across the country. Every November, people wore red paper poppies as symbols of memory, gathering at war memorials, churches, and cenotaphs to honor those who had fallen. The 2-minute silence at 11 o'clock was held with deep reverence, as streets grew still and even children paused their play. Families remember watching the televised service at the Cenotaph in London, hearing the haunting notes of the bugle, and seeing veterans march with medals shining proudly on their coats. For many, it was one of the few times in the year when the entire nation seemed united in reflection. In the 1970s, Remembrance Sunday wasn't just tradition. It was a living connection to the past, teaching children the meaning of sacrifice and memory. In the 1970s, Britain Sunday evenings carried a special rhythm as families gathered around the television for their favorite shows. Comedy classics like Dad's Army, The Two Ronnies, and the beloved Morecambe and Wise show brought laughter into living rooms, while dramas and variety programs gave the weekend a comforting close. With only 3 channels to choose from, viewing felt shared. Millions of households often watched the same thing at the same time. Children remember pajamas and cocoa, parents winding down before the working week, and the whole family laughing together at sketches everyone would quote the next day. The glowing screen was more than entertainment. It was routine, a cultural bond that united Britain from living room to living room. In the 1970s, Sunday evening TV wasn't just about programs. It was tradition, ritual, and the soft ending to the week. In 1970s, Britain, caravan holidays were a cherished tradition for families seeking adventure without leaving the country. Towing a caravan to the coast or countryside meant freedom, a tiny home on wheels where kids could sleep in bunks. Parents brewed tea on a gas stove, and every day promised new discoveries. Campsites buzzed with families, the smell of barbecues mixing with sea air and freshly cut grass. Children remember rainy days spent playing board games inside, condensation dripping down caravan windows, and the thrill of waking up somewhere different each morning. Even with cramped spaces and unpredictable weather, caravan holidays carried a magic all their own. In the 1970s, they weren't just cheap getaways. They were family adventures, stitched into memory as part of the rhythm of British summer.